today we're going to talk about, it's going to be a little bit of a rant, but a nice rant.
More from Emily.
Yeah, there's something that that just irritates me. It's excuses.
And victimization. I think that's what we've noticed in recent times.
Yes.
Just a little bit more so in Singapore than in Australia.
Yeah. Couple examples for me. Firstly is people actually trying to make you feel like a victim, or make you feel like you're gonna fail by giving you an excuse. So for example, I'll always take back to when I was training for the Hong Kong 100. Somebody put a comment on one of my I put one of my run, and somebody was like, I hope you must be freaking out with all the elevation of the Hong Kong 100, because you can obviously not train properly here in Singapore. There's no elevation. And I will admit, I doubted myself for a few hours, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And I was like, I was already doing all the elevations that I could, and I was going on, I went on treadmill as much as I could. And I went as well. I did a lot of repeats of Mount Faber, which is it's a pretty good climb. It's not high, but you do repeats of it, and it adds up. It adds up. So there's always a way. And honestly, I killed it in the hop hills. That was the downhill that actually I was really struggling because of technical downhills, which is something we don't have here in Singapore. My life has taken me here to Singapore. In a way, it's not ideal because I don't have all the mountains that I want.
But I think at the same time, I think it's really good that you're training in this kind of conditions, because it's hot and it's humid. And a lot of the big races are in places where the air is a lot cooler.
Yeah, and I just think it's all, ultra running, they say, is a lot about the mental toughness. And to me, it all accumulates. So doing repeats of the same hill millions of times, it can be boring, but you have to find a way to push yourself and to keep on going when it's always the same thing. It builds the mental. Another way, like if you're sweating like a pig, honestly, sometimes like I can do that with my shorts, and there's proper like water falling down, which is my sweat.
And I think it's the same thing as well. Like for me, when I go for my run, recently I choose to go around 11, 12, and my dad always says, "Oh, so crazy, it's too hot. And people are walking around with their little umbrellas and wearing their gloves because they don't want to get a tan. And I'm just powering through at around 12 to 1 p.m. And it's tough, but I think it's definitely given me an edge in terms of, let's say, if I run in the evening, I'm a lot faster.
Yeah, and sometimes you do need, you should not all the time, like we're going into training and everything, you should not all the time put yourself in ways that you cannot go as fast. Sometimes it's good to run in, like that's why I'm happy that I have access to a treadmill, so I can do proper sometimes tempo work. If I do tempos, I usually will go early morning or late in the afternoon or on a treadmill, because then I have cooler conditions and I can concentrate on my pace. But sometimes a long run or a 45 minutes aerobic math, that kind of stuff, I think it's good to put yourself in a condition that is a bit harder, and so you learn to deal with the weather, with different weather, same as if it's raining. I put a post the other day because I got caught in the rain at MacRitchie, and it was quite heavy, and I just had so much fun. And honestly, sometimes I had to, it was river crossing, it was cool. I was like, there you go, the technical training. That's what I was thinking the whole time. By default, I crossed a few rivers. I tell you, sometimes like the water was that deep. I had water up to almost my knees. And it was fun. And I'm sure that a lot of people stayed home because...
It was really funny as well. We saw the picture the other time of the green corridor, and it was raining. And people were just kind of, because it was muddy, then all the runners were just kind of squished at the side of the track because they didn't want to get their shoes dirty.
They were in line. Some of them were in line. And then on the Facebook group, there was comments like, not the Facebook group, the Facebook page, there was comments like, there was too much water, and it was a trail race, and it's really funny. I think there's no excuse. There's always a way. As I said, life took me here to Singapore. There's bad sides, but there's good sides as well. Another thing as well, another excuse that makes my blood boil, as I would say, and which is quite a culture difference between the way I was raised and the more the Eastern, more the Asian culture, more the way that Luke was raised, even though Luke is quite Western, is, so people tell me here, I heard that quite a bit. I would love to go. I'm vegetarian most of the time. I would love to go vegetarian, or vegan, but it's very rude for me to refuse the food that is served for me in family dinners. It's very rude for me to refuse. It's part of our tradition, and I just cannot. And I'm like, do you want to be? What do you feel when you eat the meat? I really don't like it, but it's so rude. And I responded to the person. I said, well, you should refuse it. What is it gonna do?
Yeah, I guess as an Asian, we've been brought up in a culture where you respect your elders, and you can't really speak up and voice your own opinion and have a debate over the dining table, really.
For us, it's the opposite. If you watch, I'm not French, but I'm French Canadian, so my ancestors are French, and we're quite similar in a lot of ways. If you watch a French movie, I think most French movies are around a dinner table and people argue. There's a lot of arguing. It's a national sport for us, like arguing. One of our national sport in Quebec is called, it's the National League of Improv. So that kind of stuff, like improv, arguing, is part of our culture. So to us, debates are something that we absolutely love, and it's part of who we are. So for me, having to shut up when somebody says something that I don't agree with because that person has a few years over me, to me is completely ridiculous. And I understand, I admire the Asian culture for the way they respect their elders in a way that they will take care of them until the end, and they take care of them so well, and in something that I haven't seen in every like I see a lot more elders that are suffering alone in old folks' home in Canada or Australia as it is here in Asia. I see a lot of older people that are very, very weak here in Asia that are still being pushed around in their wheelchair.
And a lot of times in Asia you see like 2-3 generation homes where you get the whole family staying under one roof, and I think we've just been brought up with that kind of mindset where they call it filial piety, which taking care of your elders. And I think it's one of those beautiful things. And right now my grandmother, she's 90 plus, and she's surrounded by a lot of love, and she's never alone.
Yeah, no, she always got someone, and she's nearing the end, and I know that this woman will go with it, surrounded with love until the end, and which is beautiful. And she's very lucky, unlike a lot of people who die alone. And I don't have any statistic with me, but I would say that it happens more often in the Western world than here, because people do take care of their elders, and it's something I admire. And I don't think it should stop. But the respect your elders and don't
and I think the problem with the respect with elders aspect is that there is a sense of entitlement as well.
Yeah, I see sometimes, like, it's so weird. Like, I see another thing that really annoys me is older people cut lines here because they believe, like, oh, I'm older, so I can cut a line. I've taken a woman by the shoulders the other day who cut line in front of me. I've taken her by the shoulder and I said, Auntie, the line is in the back. And she was so petrified that she did go in the back, because she was like, oh my God. Like,
and I remember the other time I was coming down the bus, and this lady was charging into me. I was just like, excuse me, you've got to wait till I come down first. And she was just
a lot of my Singaporean friends have said that when they've told that to their parents are usually, why you make it so complicated? And that's usually what they tell them. But it won't last too long. And if your mom wants to make you feel bad for a while, well, it's her loss, to be honest. Like, is she gonna disown you? No. And she's gonna live with it. She's gonna forgive you one day. You're her child. um, it's gonna be fun. When I became a vegetarian, a vegan, one of the things that I thought, I was like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to have fondue with my family again. It was a tradition, but you know what? It's a tradition that I gave up for so many benefits
sure.
that I gained for myself, from the world, for the animals. I gained community. So it's just a small loss. My friend Christian, same thing. He's German. He's of German origins, and it was something that he had to give up. To his mom is an amazing cook and makes some beautiful German food. He could not have it anymore, and it made him sad in a way, but he gained so much out of it. And
I find it really, I just get a little bit affected when I go to family gatherings and they say, oh look, oh yeah, you're right, you're vegan, you can't have this. It's not that I can't have this. I choose not to have animal products, animal byproducts, because of the 1,000,001 reasons. I won't really go into them.
Oh, you're so strict.
How do you have discipline? No, how do you have discipline?
Yeah.
How do you have discipline? Like, come on, wake up and see what's happening to the world. See what actually happens to animals when they get slaughtered. It's not about discipline. It's about being compassionate.
Yeah, and that's why it makes me angry. But at the same time, we cannot argue with
because
them.
we were there before. I was there before.
Yeah, and same thing. And another example that I remember when I first learned that it was bad to stand up to elders. I will always remember, we were still in Melbourne and we went for lunch with your mother and some of her friends, and they were saying this. We were probably like 6 months vegan or something. And that woman was saying the stupidest thing, like, babies need mate for their brain to grow, and like all those things that I think even the people that are arguing against veganism won't even take these out. Like, they're like probably like things that people believed like 100 years ago or something. And I was having a good old time. Like, I was like, I was a new vegan and I was pulling out my facts and I was like so proud. And then Luke was like, no, you don't do that. You don't.
I guess I'm like the Swiss. I sit on the fence until it hurts.
And I didn't know about that. I was having a good old time and I was just enjoying it. And I thought they were. I don't know. At the end, I said, I'm very sorry. I was just happy to be. And she was fine with it. I don't know if she was. Maybe she came back home. We've never seen these people again. So maybe she was not fine with it. But yeah, I was having a good old time when everyone was like, whoa, okay. So I think maybe because I'm white, I got excused to like to arguments and not respect my elders. But yeah, it's just something that I will always remember. It was my baptism of fire to the world of not arguing with your elders. So yeah, so that's one thing, and I just say, just never forget that these people are your parents. They love you, and yes, sometimes it's time to stand up to them a little bit more. But I do appreciate that side of Asian culture that do respect their elders and ancestors. It's beautiful.
And coming from an Asian perspective, I appreciate spending half my life in a Western country. What I embrace about the Western culture is that it's just about being yourself, taking ownership of who you are, and being individual, and saying that it's okay to be different.
No, and I think we mix really well, and it sparks some debate, which is great for me. Love the debates, and yeah, like it sparks discussion. I think what makes us even a stronger couple, these differences that we embrace. And yeah, it makes me much more open-minded, because if I had somebody who was supporting everything I do all the time and like, oh yeah, that's good what you said all the time, and never going against it, or never making me question what I say, I would not become a better person, because I would just see a mirror of myself and be like, yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's only good that I can see it in that. It's sometimes hard, but it would be hard with anyone else in other ways. So to wrap up this discussion, for me, it's just stop being a victim. Stop finding excuses.
Yeah, finding excuses for why you can't do something. Find more, find reasons why you would like to do something. And
it's good to be challenged. For me, when I got challenged training for the Hong Kong 100, actually it pushed me to get any more vert, to just train even harder and really, really put everything I had into it. It's good to be challenged, but you should always take it as a way to be better, not as a way to put you down and not do something. So don't be a victim, be a winner.